What's up guys, it's Criddle here from the AnimeBallZ team with another chapter of One Piece. Now, I know I said that I was going to be doing this every week with the chapters as they came out, but kind of fell off a little bit there. Anywho, let's have a look at chapter 7, 8, 9 with Lucy as the title. Now, as a pure guttural reaction to this chapter, I instantly thought of Rebecca being the person who would say Luffy's name as Lucy, because even knowing him as Straw Hat Luffy, she still refers to him as Lucy, because that's how she was introduced. That was my initial thought. First person that comes to mind when you hear that is going to be that, especially with the naming of the chapters recently, how we've had Gats show up as Gats. The fact that it's called Lucy, then it's obviously the whole Lucy, yay, this is the person, and all that sort of stuff. So because the cage has been stopped momentarily previously in one of the previous chapters, everyone is really spurred on to stop this barrier. So there's a lot of everyone pushing up against the barrier just to try and stop it, or at least slow it down long enough for Luffy to recover his strength to jump back into the fight with Don Flamingo. Notably, at this point, King Riku has also jumped into the fray and is pushing against the barrier, and people are a bit like, what? And he's like, no, I must do this. I'm in debt to every single person in the city. I failed everyone, so here's my chance to redeem myself. Viola is also continuing her fight against Don Flamingo, not doing very well. And with Rebecca sort of standing on the sidelines watching this happen, trying to get Viola to stop, Don Flamingo takes control of Viola and Rebecca. He sort of holds Viola up so her hands are tied above her head, and then basically essentially commanding Rebecca to kill Viola, which would be sister killing sister. And Rebecca starts to advance on Viola. Gats, being able to see all this from his vantage point that he's currently found himself up to, starts to broadcast to the whole city. Everyone's a bit like, what the hell are you doing? This isn't the time for this. But then he goes on about the champion from the stadium. This guy by the name of Lucy, who had managed to pull out all the stops and do really well and win the Mirror Mirror no Mi. Granted that the later half of that was Sabo doing that, but that's beside the point. Anywho, he goes on about the fact that Lucy is fantastic. Lucy is going to help save the country, and Lucy's, by the way, reveal, Straw Hat Luffy is Lucy's actual name. Everyone's a little bit shocked by this, given that Don Flamingo is a pirate who sort of came in, took control of the country for 10 years, and is now pretty much going to try and kill every single person. Just because he wants to, because that's his plan, or whatever it's stupid idea that he's got in his head. Anyway, he goes on to say that Luffy has turned around and said that he will finish off Don Flamingo with one punch. He's turning into a bit of a one-punch man. Obviously, with this being the case, we now get him, going on about this. Rebecca begs to be saved by Luffy as Gat starts the count. Rebecca begs to be saved by Lucy, because she still calls Luffy Lucy, as Gat starts a 10-second countdown for Luffy's return and Luffy's revival. As this is also commencing, so everything's happening all at once, Mansherry's tear healing ability starts to wear off, and the first few people that were saved start dropping, which means that we've got all these people that are pushing on the barrier who are not going to be able to push on the barrier much longer. We've got the manpower that's helping to slow this thing down is falling apart. Things cannot get more desperate. We are literally reliant on the fact that Don Flamingo needs to be finished off with one punch. At this point in time, Don Flamingo turns around and strikes Gats, basically piercing straight through him because of the broadcast he's putting, and he's basically rallying the troops behind Luffy and Luffy's ability. And then Rebecca swings down at Viola, swinging straight at Viola's face and hits Luffy. Law has managed at the last second to shambles Viola and Luffy, swap their positions because we finished the 10-second countdown. Luffy has arrived on the scene. Gats calls out that Lucy is now here. Lucy has arrived. Don Flamingo is like, what the hell, Straw Hat? Massive grin on his face, preparing to kill Luffy. Luffy turns around, gives Don Flamingo the death stare. This alone means that this is the end of this arc as we know it. This arc obviously is spanning a bit further. It's a bit more convoluted than just this would be the end of the Dressrosa arc, because we've had a lot of stuff set up from this. I'm assuming that in the coming weeks we are going to see what's going on with the Sanji group. But then there's also that flip of that where we may not see them until they get to where Big Mom is, and we may get a flashback them saying, oh, this is what happened to us over this time frame, and everything like that. Not too sure what's going to happen, but either way, Don Flamingo is pretty much finished. Luffy is just about to finish things off with Gear 4th. This is going to be amazing. I am so looking forward to this final bit on Don Flamingo's record. Fujitora will hopefully help bring Don Flamingo to justice. Law may actually be reinstated as a Shichibukai, despite the fact that he stood against people. This may actually re-invoke his status. I mean, it was revealed that someone else he stood against, which was Virgo, turned out to be corrupt, and Smoke has taken him in. That should hopefully work in Law's favour. So he has done justice. He has removed corruption from within the Shichibukai, and well, Shichibukai corruption's a bit like a, you know, it's a bit of a blankety robbery sort of term, robbery, haha. But yeah, he may get reinstated as a Shichibukai, but the alliance that he has with Luffy, who is one of the worst criminals in the world, this entire arc is going to hit the world stage, and will count as another territory for Luffy, with obviously Fishman Island has been declared as a Luffy territory, but in the Paradise section of the Grand Line, I'm pretty sure Drum Island and Alabasta will also declare that they will gladly stand behind Luffy. Water 7 may even do so as well, I'm not too sure. Sky Pier doesn't obviously count. Whiskey Peak is a group of criminals. And Shabodi is relatively neutral, and Luffy hasn't really influenced that nation all that much. Amazon Lily, I think, will also stand behind Luffy as well, and mark as one of his territories if he essentially moves into a Four Kings situation, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that has been One Piece chapter 789, Lucy. Very cool chapter. If you have any thoughts, theories, or comments on this chapter, leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, and all that sort of jazz. And I'm Criddle, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.